Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome to those of you who are here in the house and those of you who are watching digitally, whether it's today or some other day. Welcome. We're glad you're here. I know that it's always, life is busy, and so to take time out of your busy life to stop and slow down and honor the spiritual path and the truth of who you are is always so important. So thank you for sharing your time with us. So I'm Sue Witter. I'm one of the practitioners and the ministerial intern, and Reverend Clyde is here today to do the talk with us. And as tradition in many, many centers throughout the world, where they talk about the basic principles of science of mind in January. So we're going to be able to do that with Reverend Clyde. So that's very exciting. I have a few quick announcements. Starting January 21st at 1. Fish is going to be doing random acts of art with fish. It'll be once a month, and the first month will be January 21st. We have classes coming up, which is always exciting. Foundations with Reverend Karen, January 25th, Wednesday afternoons from 1 to 3. Kathy is going to be doing Essential Earnest Homes. For those of you who are interested in practitioner training, I think that that's a class that can be credited toward your overall process in that. And that is February 9th, 1:30 to 3:30. That's a save the date for us. Next week, see John. Where are you, John? He might still be out front. The men are having a golf outing. Where do you know where you're golfing?
Miniature golf, Central Phoenix.
Oh, miniature golf, not real golf. Miniature golf.
Well,
Okay.
Wasn't it putt-putt?
Putt-putt golf.
Yeah.
Well, Castles and Coasters out at I-17 and Dunlap, maybe. Yeah. So, putt-putt golf, miniature golf. I foolishly thought it was golf, like real golf. Like where you wander around and chase a little white thing all over the grass for hours and hours. And if you're me, it's usually chasing it in places where it never should have gone. So anyway, those are the announcements for today. Kathy Royer is our practitioner for the day, and if you will, if we can have the vision statement, and we can say that together, or we can, with or without. Okay, here we go. If you'll say this with me, we are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. So it is. If you would like a prayer request, you can see Kathy or me after the service. There's a prayer request box in the back of the sanctuary. I believe there's one out in home space. You can go online and put in a prayer request during the week. So anytime, the practitioner's great joy is to be able to pray with you. So please let us know if you'd like something you'd like with prayer. And there are announcements, even more than what I did in the newsletter that comes each week. If you haven't, if you're not getting that, there's a place you can sign up out in the lobby, I believe, or in the bookstore where you can get it or see Cheryl. So that is the place where you find all the hip and cool stuff that's happening here. And with that, I will say it's time for us to just take a deep breath, slow down, and begin to go within so that we're ready for Reverend Clyde's message.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still and know.
quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
In this space, this sacred space, space of one essence, one light, one love, this essence and light and love I choose to call God. God is all there is. God is in all there is. God is in us. We show up as God through us. God shows up as through us. Anyway, yeah. As we go through our day today and listen and have listened to the message, boy, I have just screwed this up. I need to start over. In this space, in this quiet, sacred space, there is only one, God. God is love, joy, beauty, light, peace. All there is just God. And as I am an individualization of this God, I know this is truth for all of us. Each of us in this room, online, in this country, in this whole world, we are all one. We are all God. And I just say a word of blessing for the Bradfords and their beautiful music that always touches us. And for Clyde's awesome message today that will teach us so that we may go forth and share what we have learned. So I just release this service knowing that it is already done, it is already perfect, into the law. And together we say, and so it is. Boy, am I rusty. It's been a while. Okay, so since I'm teaching this class on essential earnest, I decided I would pull out my book and see what I could find in it. So on page 105, he says, in the science of mind, we teach not only that there is a body-mind relationship, but also that there is a direct relationship between thought and environment. Consciously or unconsciously, we are not only governing our physical bodies, we are also weaving the destiny of our fate, at least temporarily, on the loom of consciousness. It is merely a question of where we get the pattern. So, shall it come from fear, strife, disunity, or shall it be drawn from our consciousness from a higher source? Spirit. Spirit-mind relationship is one of more important than just body-mind relationship. For there is a right relationship between spirit and mind, then the mind principle, acting as law, will automatically reflect a right bodily reaction and equally right environment reaction. We all have amount of transfurgation, but we do not always ascend into it. Moses said that the creative word is in our own mouth. God grants that this word shall free be received from heaven. Affirmation. I see through all physical and mental obstruction to the one perfect presence within me. I see through all appearance contradictions to the one perfect being in every person. I see through all confusion to the one divine presence in the center of everything. And so it is. That sucked.
So this is the beginning of a new year. We're setting goals, resolutions. What are you dreaming of for this year for yourselves? And that's why I picked this song. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dream, no request is too extreme. When you wish upon a star like dreamers do, fate is kind. She brings to those who love the sweet fulfillment of their secret longing. Like a bolt out of the blue, fate comes in and sees you through. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true.
She's working on it right now. So welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. Oh, okay. Gotcha. This mic? Which mic? This mic? Okay, I'll use this mic. That works. All right. We can make it work. Can you turn on the lights, please? All right. So, again, welcome, everybody. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I can see everybody. Reverend Karen is out for the next couple of weeks. She's taking some time off, and we are starting off a new year. So thank you, Kathy, for that, singing that beautiful song. That's exactly what we're talking about today, is how to use the law to get the dreams that we want to experience in our life. So I'm really excited for this New Year's. Mark and I went mountain biking yesterday for the first time, and it was beautiful weather. So I hope you were able to get outside, enjoy the beautiful weather. So as Sue was mentioning, so we start off the year across all of our churches and centers. We talk. The first month is usually focused on the spiritual principles or practices and what we believe. So you should have received a handout when you came in this morning, and on one side of the handout it has the spiritual mind principles that we're going to be talking about, and then on the other side it has the what we believe. So we're going to be talking about 5 of the spiritual principles today, and then we're going to be talking about 5 more of the spiritual principles next Sunday. Okay? All right. So what we believe is, again, and we're going to be talking more about the spiritual principles and what we believe. So first one is oneness. So I'm going to read this little paragraph of information here, and then we'll go through some information. So there's one infinite reality. We call it many names, including but not limited to God, life, universal spirit, infinite intelligence, first cause, or the thing itself. The one infinite reality is undivided, complete, and whole within itself. This oneness creates everything out of itself. Therefore, includes both the absolute and the relative, the tangible and the intangible, and the physical and the metaphysical aspects of reality. So everything begins with God. When all the great religions start off with, in the beginning, God, what they're saying is that there has never been a time or place where God has not been. That everything starts with and everything ends with God, with that one source, with that one life. And so when we here at the center, when we talk about oneness and we try to define God, we automatically are limiting God because God is infinite and there's really no way that we can describe him. And him, her, it. But the more that we define it, the less it becomes. But what we can do is we can look to nature to understand God, right? And so what I want to talk about is first divine intelligence. And an incredible example that I use in prayer a lot of times for divine intelligence is the transformation of a caterpillar to a butterfly, right? That is an example of divine intelligence. Or how about a baby? You have a male sperm, you have a female egg, and a baby pops out, right, with a soul. That is divine intelligence. And then one more example of divine intelligence is our bodies naturally heal. Let's say that we have a scratch on our body or a cut. Guess what? It heals on our own. We don't have to do anything about it. The body has the intelligence, that divine intelligence, to heal itself. Another example is creativity. So think about all the people in the world. How many people there are? There's no two alike. And that is a lot of people if you think about the diversity of all the different people or all the different birds or all the different flowers. So God is creating all of this beauty in life, and no two are exactly alike. And then what about abundance? So when we think about abundance, just for a second, close your eyes. So can you imagine all the needles on all the cactuses in Arizona? Can you imagine all the blades of grass that are carpeting this earth? Can you imagine all the leaves that are blowing in the wind on all the trees? So if you can open your eyes. So that is abundance. And we are that individualized expression of abundance. Again, look how many people are on the planet. And the last one is divine right order. So life is always evolving, unfolding in the divine right order. Not only life with a capital L of all life, but also each individual life unfolds in divine right order. Each individual spiritual path is designed just for us to learn and grow and experience life and become more. So can you imagine the caveman having a cell phone? And today we can't live without our cell phones, right? So a personal experience about this oneness. So when I took the foundations class many, many, many years ago, I took it 3 times. The second time is when I really started understanding the spiritual principles. And the oneness principle was one that changed my life. Because when I recognized, I realized, and I accepted that I was a child of God, that I was never alone, that changed my life. And so I don't ever feel alone. And one of my simple spiritual practices I have that I've shared with many people is right before I go to bed, and I say to myself quietly, "Good night, God." Because it reminds me that when I go to bed, God is there. When I wake up, God is also present. So do you believe that you're the microcosm of the macrocosm? If everything is God, do you feel the love, the support, the safety? If not, this is the opportunity for you to figure out what you believe. So the next thing I want to talk about is love. So I'm not talking about romantic love. However, when we first fall in love with somebody, everybody knows what I'm talking about, that energy level goes way up, right? And the same thing, if we lose that partner, if we lose that special person in our life, our energy level goes way down. So that's that loving energy that I'm talking about. Not the romantic part, but that loving energy that's propelling all life. So love is the self-givingness of the universal spirit through its desire to express itself in terms of creation. Love is the impulse, and law is the way of creation. So Ernest Holmes says, universe is based on love. Love is the sole impulse of creation. We are here to create and express life. We are here to share our love. So each person is an agent of God. Each person is sharing our love. So every person that comes into our life, they come into our life for one reason, to help us remember the truth. So regardless of what kind of love they're giving us, they are still giving love. And so when we have these people that come into our life, we should honor every person, because that is a special gift that they're giving us, their presence, their love. So love is what drives us to desire more, create more, and express more. So, and then the more love that we have in our life, the more creative and expressive we become. And love is the love is the self-livingness of the universe. One of the greatest lessons from Jesus is love has no bounds. It is the eternal goodness that it gives to all. Life is always supporting us, never withholding. So if you can imagine the love that you have for a family member or for a friend, and how you will do anything for that person, that's the same love of God. God's love will do anything and is always available for us and never withholding from us. And so the more love that we have, the more that we expressive and creative we become. I always like to use the term, I don't remember which book, I think it was from there's a book that I read about the love language and then filling your love tank, right? So I can tell when my love tank is not full, right? But when my love tank is full, so my personal experience in life is that I want to create more. I want to experience more. So experiencing more for me is going on new vacations. Creating more for me is the job that I do, right? So this job that I have, I have not advanced in my career because my focus has been on money, but my advancement in my career has been because I can help more people. And because I can help more people and I can make a difference in the world, the money seems to follow. And I'm very grateful for that. So do you feel the love in your life? And if not, why not? So the next principle I want to talk about is creation. The physical universe is the manifest body of the one infinite reality. And the one infinite reality is more than the physical universe. Creation is an expression of the one infinite reality. It is inherent God. It is inherently good and ever evolving to greater expressions of good. So the physical universe is temporary. Life is always changing because life is always creating. So let me say that again, because this is a very important thing to remember. The physical universe is temporary. Life is always changing because life is always creating. We cannot stop creating in our own personal life. We are the microcosm of the macrocosm. So if you just look at your life right now and think about one thing in your life right now that 10 years ago was not in your life, right? Because we, as individuals, continue to evolve and continue to create and express more life. And so that's what we're doing. So nothing is permanent in this physical universe. It's all temporary. So our opportunity is to not grow attached. The trouble that we get into is when we want to hold on to someone, or we want to hold on to something or some experience. We create our own suffering because we hold on to things. If we're going through challenges in our life, we can take a breath and know that it will pass because it's only temporary. But I also want to express the importance of challenges that we're having. The challenges that we may be going through is an invitation for life to express in a new way through us. And so are we open to expressing life in a new way? Are we open to letting go of our old ways, letting go of a situation, letting go of a person, letting go of an experience, and express life in a new way? So if we're experiencing bliss or joy, we should honor the moment, knowing that it too will pass. So can we be present in that moment right here and right now and experience that what we've created in our life and the joy that we're having from it, and really count our blessings for that wonderful experience? Can we accept that we're part of this creative process, here to experience, to learn, and to grow? That's what our job is. Our job is, yes, we may be mothers, we may be fathers, we may be administrators, nurses, teachers. That's our occupation. But our sole purpose is to experience life, to learn, and to grow. So life is forever evolving from itself. Look at your life and look at all life. The spiritual principle that I really embodied over the last couple of years is life is moving in one direction toward greater expressions of good. So we've talked about this and this whole thing with COVID. And COVID really helped me anchor in that truth, because there was so many unknowns of what was happening and what to believe. We didn't know what to believe, right? And at times it was scary. You know, at times when you're out driving on the highway and there's only a couple of cars on the road, it felt scary. But every Sunday when I came to service, and there was a few people in the community that supported Reverend Karen as we moved through this together, we showed up every Sunday, not only to keep the light on, but to keep the message going, right? So it was one step at a time. And that's when I understood that regardless of what was going on in the world, the unknown, the scariness, I knew that life was continuing. I knew that it was going to unfold to something better. And now that COVID is in our rearview mirror, now it's joyful expectations. Look at our community. Look at all of you being back here in our seats, and we're growing, and we're experiencing life in a new way here at West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. So our life is no different than our community life, and we continue to evolve and grow together. So when we talk about what's holding you back right now? What are you holding on to? What's causing you suffering? Are you going through something challenging that you need to lean into your faith and know that all you have to do is take one step at a time, and you're going to move through whatever needs to move through, because it's only temporary. And when we lean into our faith, we remember that life only moves in one direction, for more good, more love, more abundance, more creativity. So the next principle I want to talk about is the threefold nature. The one infinite reality expresses itself in three aspects: spirit, law, and body. Each individual is made in the image and likeness of the one infinite reality and has the same three aspects. Within life or God, there are three aspects or parts of the whole, and we also embody those three parts. So on that little hand that I gave you, there's a teaching symbol, our teaching symbol at the top of the page. And that's what I want to talk about, because that teaching symbol, the purpose of it is to remind us of the truth. It's to remind us of our spiritual principles that are helping us create the life that we want to experience. So at the very top, that very top part of the circle, the first line, above the first line, that is spirit. So Ernest Holmes defines spirit as first cause, or God, the word itself. The word is volition, because it's choosing. And that's why we say that our word has power, because God is expressing through us. And everything in our life starts with an idea. So that very top part is spirit. It starts with the idea of what we want in our life. So going back to the cell phone, right? So when we first came out with the cell phone, I know everybody in here can remember. Remember, it was a big old brick, right? You had a big old brick on your head. How sexy was that, right? Now look at the little, now if you have a flip phone, everybody looks funny at you, right? And look where it is today. Now we're doing everything on our cell phones. And it won't be long before we're going to be vacationing in the space, because we've already planted the seed. We've already planted the idea. So I know it'll happen in my lifetime. I know that people will be going out into space to have a vacation. So the law is the middle section of the teaching symbol. And it's the creative medium. It's the creative medium of spirit. It is the blind force that does not discriminate whatever it is placed into it, into the subjective state. It always says yes, and it can be used to bring us joy or pain. We get to decide. So the law is probably the most challenging to understand, and the song that you sang was really beautiful to really emphasize how the law works, right? We just wish upon a star. We just need to pay attention to what we want and what we believe, and life will do the rest for us, right? And so spirit is at the top of the circle, law is at the bottom. So spirit is implanting into the subjective field the law, right? And then we're going to talk about the body at the bottom, right? So the law is probably the hardest spiritual principle to understand. But when you get it and you understand it and you believe it and you use it, it's a game changer. It's a life game changer. So we talk about the consciousness, the kingdoms of consciousness, right? So there's 4 kingdoms of consciousness. So the first kingdom is victimhood, right? So we think that somebody that's in victimhood feels like life is happening to them, that they don't have a choice, that they're experiencing everything, right? And then what happens, and we learn about these spiritual principles, and we learn how the law works, and now we move to the second kingdom, which is God as me, or by me. The second kingdom of consciousness is by me. And what that means is that we're using the law to manifest all kinds of things in our life. Now we think that we're the creators of the world, right? And so we're creating all of this. So we're no longer in victimhood, because now we know that we can make a difference in our life by what we believe and by what our actions that we take. That is what I'm talking about, the law, and understanding of the law and how it works. And then finally, if you're looking at that circle, the bottom part of that circle is body, the manifestation of spirit, visible and invisible. We are manifesting experiences and physical objects because this is what life does. God is always creating itself from itself. So we have spirit at the top. We're implanting it into the law. And then what comes out at the bottom is the manifestation. That is the process. So a personal experience is that once I understood spirit, I really paid attention to my thoughts and what I say. But the one thing I want to clarify, when I say I paid attention to my thoughts and what I say, that doesn't mean that every thought I have is going to manifest, right? If I say, I want it to rain, it's not going to manifest, right? But it's our collective thoughts, right? So it's the thoughts that you're writing down on a piece of paper. It's the thoughts and beliefs that you're telling your family, you're telling your friends. It's the thoughts and beliefs that you're telling yourself over and over again. Guess what? The law says, yes, that's what you can have, right? So understanding, what are we thinking about? What are we believing in ourselves? What are we saying to everybody? That's what the law is receiving, and that's what the law is going to give you. So the law, when I took the spiritual class many years ago, and I still remember going up my stairs in my old place where I lived, and I was saying out loud, I am terrified of the law, right? I was really afraid at that time because of knowing that the law is always working. Not sometimes, all the time. So we are planting our seeds for our future every moment of our life. So I became very self-aware. And of what I was thinking, what I was doing, what I was believing. And so I knew that if I wanted to experience something different in my life, all I had to do was change my thinking. Because life is reflecting back at us what we believe. So right now, if you look at your life, and if you look how things are going, and if you're in your life, if there's things that you're not too happy about or you want to change, that is just life reflecting back at you of what you believe. So you can change those beliefs, and you can change your life. So the other thing I want to clarify with everybody is that the law works that we take responsibility, but what we put into it comes out, right? But there's an exception. And I'm going to use the example of a car accident. So if I am backing out of my driveway and somebody comes along and hits me from behind and I get into a car accident, I didn't do anything to deserve that. I was just simply backing my car out of the driveway. So what I want you to understand is that, so we're all creating our lives, right? So are we going to bump into each other? Yes, we're going to bump into each other. So when something happens to you, it's not because you're doing something wrong. Sometimes you could have just been backing out of the driveway. It's that simple. However, we are still responsible for all of our actions, right? So me being in a car accident and backing out of that driveway, I can't blame anybody but myself in the sense that I chose to drive the car. I chose to back out of the driveway that day. Doesn't make me wrong or doesn't make the problem wrong. I mean, I just got into an accident. But what I want you to see is that I made the choice of driving, and because I make the choice of driving, I'm at risk of possibly being in an accident. There's no lesson to learn here, right? We just be open to understanding what's going on. And the last one is body. So the manifestation. So I think that this is God's way of hooking us into believing in spirit, into believing in our faith. Because when we start manifesting things in our life, we begin to understand the threefold nature and how it works and how we can use it in our life. And when we pray, this is a tool that we use, a spiritual tool that we use to create the life that we want to experience. So what I love about prayer is that we have 5 steps, right? So that first step and the second step, recognition is the first step, unification is the second step. So going back to our very first principle is oneness, right? So we want to ground and anchor ourselves in that oneness. We want to know that God is all there is. So we're recognizing God out there and all the qualities of God, right? And then when we can recognize all the qualities of God or recognize the qualities of God of the challenges that we may be having in our life or the things that we may want, and then we align ourselves to it and knowing that we are that individualized expression of God. So we also have that same power, that same experience, that same ability, the same potential. So that's step 1 and step 2. Step 3 is realization. Realization is not asking God for something. Realization is knowing the truth for ourselves. If we can't see it and believe it for ourselves, then we are not going to be able to experience it. So that's why when we pray, we don't pray in future tense. We pray in current tense, saying it is happening right here and right now, right? So a really good exercise for that is doing a vision board. A vision board is a really good spiritual practice that teaches you how to see things right now. So right now, just to let you guys know that Mark and I are selling our house, and we're looking to move into Central Phoenix, and we have our eye on a house, and we're looking at the house, and we're planning things that we want to hang on the walls and what we want to plant in the house, because we're visualizing living in this house, right? If you can't see it, it won't happen. So the realization helps us remember that truth. And then, of course, gratitude is being thankful because the law is always working. And release is just simply releasing it, letting go, and letting God. This is our process for knowing that the law is always working, right? So the other thing I want to share about this, the understanding these 3 principles, or these threefold principles, spirit, body, and law, is what I tell people is that when you wake up consciously and you understand how spiritual principles work, you understand how the law works, then there's no going back to sleep, right? So we move into a different way of expressing life, and we're actively, consciously living our lives versus thinking that something is going to happen to us. So what do you believe right now? Is there something that you need to let go of? Is there something that you need to change in your life? So we believe, change your thinking, change your life. You get to decide. All right, and then the last principle that we'll talk about today is the creative process. The one infinite reality operates through the universal law of cause and effect. The universal law is impersonal, automatic, and intelligence. The universal law receives the direct impress of the Spirit's impulse and acts upon it, bringing it into form. Individuals having the same threefold nature, using the creative process to shape our human experience and align with the whole, perfect, and complete reality. So again, we always look to nature to be able to understand these principles, this creative process. So again, if we go back to that teaching simple, and what I want to use, what we use in our class, in our foundations class, is seed, soil, and plant, right? So just imagine for a second an acorn, that the acorn has all of the intelligence that it needs to grow into a big, beautiful, strong, powerful oak tree. That's it. And all the acorn needs is it to be watered and some sunlight to shine on it. But all the intelligence of growing into that big, beautiful, powerful oak tree is all within that acorn. So each one of us has that same. Each one of us has the power within ourselves because we're connected to that one mind to create whatever we want to create for ourselves, for our life. So we take that acorn and we plant it into the seed, into the soil, right? And nobody knows what happens under that soil. At least I don't know what happens under that soil, right? And so something is happening to that seed under that soil. And that is the law, right? Anything that you plant into it, if we're going to plant green beans are going to grow. If we're going to plant a rosebud seed, roses will grow, right? So anything that we plant into that soil will grow. Well, that's how the law works. Anything that we believe and for ourselves, we're planting into the law, and we are manifesting that in our life. And then finally, the plant, the oak tree. So the manifestation or demonstration of what is the outcome of what we believe. So when you're looking at the teaching symbol, the other thing I want to share with you is the V, because we don't ever talk about the V very much. So when you look at the V, right? So the V, the right side of the V where it's going down, if you notice it goes straight, I'm going to start with the left side maybe. The left side of the V that's going straight down, right? That's involution, right? So it goes from spirit, law, body. We're creating it, right? And then we get down to the body, we get down to the demonstrations, the manifestations, and we experience it. And we decide, is this what we want? Oh, maybe not. Maybe we want something else, or maybe we want more of it. So the V going up on the right side, that's going up and it flares out. You see how it flares out? That is the evolution, right? So we're creating our life, and then we're evolving and we're growing from what we create. So that is the purpose of that V. And that is our teaching symbol for creating life. So we're always creating, and we're always using the law to create our life. So the law of cause and effects governs life. So God is not punishing us for doing bad things. What we put out is what we get back. And so one of the things, when I first joined the church, and I joked about this, is that when I first joined, I used to tell everybody the reason why I joined the church is because we don't believe in sin. And I was really happy that I could go someplace and I didn't have to worry about sin, right? But the reason why we don't believe in sin is because we don't have a God that is judging us. We don't have a God that's telling us or looking at us and saying what you're doing is right or wrong. What we have is a God that is supporting us and giving us everything that we need, and we get to decide how we want to show up in life. We get to decide how we want to experience in life. But whatever we put out, we're going to get back. And so when we feel like we're getting punished, maybe it's something that maybe we need to look at, and maybe it's something that we need to change in our life. If we're experiencing bliss or joy or freedom or greater expressions, look at that and honor that and feel confident of what we're doing or making the right choices that is supporting the life that we want to live. So what I want to talk about real quick is I want to talk about tithing, because tithing is a beautiful spiritual practice that we have, and it is always a difficult topic to talk about, but I have grown to really love tithing, not only because I love money and to receive money, but I love the spiritual practice of tithing. The reason why tithing is so important is because it is focused on the law of circulation. It allows us to have faith that we have enough, and the trust that life is supporting us. So it's not how much you give, but it's how you give. So do you give freely, or do you give out of obligation? Do you give joyfully, or is that a fear that you may not have enough? And this is a spiritual practice that should be consistent, that we should be doing this every week, every month, whatever your program is, whatever your practice is for yourself. And the reason why is because the more that you practice, the better you will become, right? That's how it is for anything that we practice, right? And then before long, the example that I have is that let's say that you're giving $5 every week on every Sunday, just as an example. And you do it nonstop, and you don't think about it, and you're joyfully giving the money away, I guarantee you that you will experience that law of circulation. You will feel the shift in consciousness, and you will feel the expansion. But we just have to start someplace. Start using the spiritual principles to experience the life that we want to experience. So we're here to give our time, our treasures, and our talent. So we're not here to hold on to them. We're here to give our love. So my personal experience about creativity is really understanding that I am responsible for my happiness. So I pay attention to my intentions, and I know how the law works, and so I expect more good in my life. And I know that life is reflecting back to me what I believe, and if I don't like it, I can change it. So I will share with you guys that Mark and I have been together, dating together, whatever, for about 4 years, and he is the love of my life. He is everything that I wanted to experience in a relationship. He is everything that I wanted to experience in life with the partner and doing all the stuff that we do. And it's a beautiful experience. So I believe I manifested him. I waited openly for that perfect time, for that perfect person. But then we get together, and like any new relationship, we have to learn each other's stuff. So I quickly said, hey, God, I have an addendum. I won't share that with you. But what I know is that our relationship is a partnership, and we're learning and growing together. So what is life reflecting back to you? Are you creating joy and happiness? Do you have a spiritual practice of tithing? And if you don't, why not? All right, so those are the 5 spiritual principles that that we talked about today. And next week, we're going to be focusing on the other 5. So you can bring your sheet back, or we'll have more sheets here. So what I want to do now is if you turn the page over, there is a what we believe. And these are the statements of what we believe is religious science. And so we are going to read these, and I've actually asked different people to read one of the statements for us. And so they're going to stand up, and they're going to read a statement, and you can follow along and read to yourself, or you can read it out loud. But we are going to do it this Sunday, and we're also going to do it next Sunday, because this is what we believe. So, Kathy, if you can start us off.
We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but it is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. We believe in the individualization of the spirit man, and that all people are individual expressions of the one spirit.
We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever excluded.
We believe that heaven is within us, and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it.
We believe the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all.
We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and innermost God is one God. We believe that God is personal, all, healed, and well-nourished.
We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God.
We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal law, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct influence of our thought, acts, and thoughts.
We believe in healing of the sick and control of conditions through the power of this mind. We believe in the eternal goodness, eternal loving kindness, and eternal givingness of life to all.
We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny, so we understand that the life of all is God.
So let us go within. It says we recognize that there is this only one perfect life, this one presence, this one spiritual being that we call God, that it encompasses all life, that there is no separation. There's only good, there's only perfection, there's only beauty, and there's only abundance. And what I know is that all life is forever evolving to higher, greater experiences of good and more good. And each person in this room, in this world, is that individualized expression of that perfect life. Each person is whole, perfect, and complete just the way that they are. Each person is that creative expression, creating and expressing life only the way that they know how to do it. And each person is that agent of God, sharing their love, expressing their love, and giving their supportive love to one another. So I know as we move into 2023, we move into this new year grounded in knowing these spiritual principles and knowing this truth for each one of us, that we are perfect, that we are whole, that we're creative beings, and that we are loved every single day, and we are never alone. So I'm so grateful for this spiritual community that we come together to remember our truth, that we come together to support one another and to celebrate our lives, knowing that we are the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. We're a beacon of light, a welcoming center that welcomes people on this beautiful journey called life. So I simply release these words into the law, knowing it's all good because it's all God. And together we say, and so it is.
Grateful,
Here we go.
grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Thank you, Bradfords, as always. And thank you, Reverend Clyde. Thank you. It's always, I've been in this philosophy for over 40 years, and still going back over those basics over and over and over is something that I hear something different each time because I'm different. And that's the great joy for me about being able to just keep looking and going, wow, you'd think after 40 years I'd have thought of that differently. But so thank you. I appreciate that a lot. So this after service is dining with the dudes. So please join us. For the guys always do great things, and it's Asian food. Did you say Asian food today? So that ought to be a lot of fun. So please join us for that. And like I said, Kathy or I would be available to pray with you after the service if you'd like prayer. And I think that's probably. Oh, we have the giving affirmation. My goodness, I should know this. All right, if you will say this with me, the joyful giving affirmation: I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And we have the black boxes at the entrance to Papke Hall, in the back of the sanctuary, and out in the bookstore. So please give your contribution, and we appreciate your gifts. Thank you.
Please rise for our last song. It feels so good to be alive. It feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. alive.
Thank you, Bradfords. All right, so we'll say our closing affirmation, which is also my mantra, and we'll say it together. There's only one life.
There's only one life.
That life is God's life.
That life is God's life.
That life is perfect.
That life is perfect.
And that life is my life now.
That life is my life now.
And so it is.
And so it is.